Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star based on novel. So let's start. The fights during the infinite time in Ice Hell stripped away the hopes of the lowly ones like Creature of Kangjiang clan and Creature of Ka2 clan, leading some to even want to commit suicide. However, creatures like Soul-Swallowing Beast didn't have any death wishes. As for the 10 rampant emperors who basically ruled Ice Hell, each of them was fraught with ambition. Although they were still at a disadvantage compared to the 5 invincible emperors, it was possible for them to catch up and get out. Fight. They fought excessively to improve themselves. Bone Emperor was filled with hostility and gazing at Luo Feng. You didn't run away. Good for you. The 10 emperors' fame is widespread, Luo Feng said. If other creatures in Ice Hell run into you, they would indeed run away. As for me, I won't run if I'm not defeated by you. Luo Feng was floating in the air. I'll run like hell if you defeat me. You won't have a chance, by then, Bone Emperor said in a deep voice echoing in his chest. The space around it was frozen, thus neither of them could teleport. Bone Emperor vanished and rushed at Luo Feng like a beam of light. Hua! Luo Feng cried, vibrating his wings, leaving a locus with twists. At the same time, 8 black balls appeared around his hands. He threw them randomly with the lore engravings on the balls triggered. Innumerable golden threads bustled, and a beast god came into being. Bone Emperor didn't scratch anything. It turned around and looked at Luo Feng and the beast god from afar, smiling as it said, "Fast enough. And here's a controller. Good. How?" The beast god marched toward it, roaring. Bone Emperor laughed furiously. A blurry reflection of the whip clashed with Bone Emperor's claw, creating a shockwave that tore the surroundings apart. Bone Emperor was blown away by the force, and the beast god became indistinct for a while before solidifying again. Seeing the snow turn back to its original shape, Bone Emperor looked up at Luo Feng and said, "Human, now I admit that you're qualified to see my real fight form." His voice was like thunder reverberating in the air. At the same time, Bone Emperor suddenly even more unbelievable. His bone spurs contracted into his body, and his entire body was heightened. The color of its body changed from red to white. The moment it stopped transforming, it became silvery white, covered with armor made of twisted bones. "This is your fighting form, Bone Emperor? Great." Luo Feng shot him a sharp look. "Take this." It was the limit of will. The strong will was guiding his conscience, and the beast god became more distinct under spiritual force, marching toward Bone Emperor. However, Bone Emperor stood with confidence and only waved its right claw when the beast god's tail slashed toward it. Slice. The right claw tore the space apart, whereas the tail of the beast god retreated before whipping incessantly. "Sneaky guy," Bone Emperor said as it rushed toward Luo Feng. Its claws became phantoms. There was a pair of gloves on its claws, and that pair was the only treasure it had. If there was anything different between the powerful ones from inside Ice Hell and those from the outside, the number of their treasures was a clear indicator. Like Bone Emperor, it could get several treasures given its status. However, it only got one here. Nevertheless, after the struggle between life and death and the countless pressures, Bone Emperor was able to make the best use of the gloves. Although it had only one treasure, it could wield the power that resembled that of the several treasures combined owned by the powerful ones outside. Bone Emperor faced the beast god, and its claws became countless phantoms, making attacks continuously. The tail of the beast god was finally cracked, and the 8 black balls were destroyed. "How mighty," Luo Feng muttered. He was stupefied by how Bone Emperor had dashed and destroyed the beast god in its fight form. The power of Bone Emperor was at Haiti Emperor level, and this form of madness was even more terrifying. "Die, human." Bone Emperor flew directly at Luo Feng the moment it defeated the beast god. Luo Feng shook his wings and escaped. "Bone Emperor, I admire your power," said Luo Feng. "I'm not your match, and therefore, I'll take off now. I'll fight you next time." Luo Feng had already flown away by the time his voice reached Bone Emperor. It stopped halfway and growled, seeing how fast Luo Feng was. It looked at Luo Feng's silhouette from afar. "This human being is indeed extremely fast," it said. "Faster than the 5 invincible emperors. It seems there will be another superpower in Ice Hell." Even though Bone Emperor had barely fought with Luo Feng, it could immediately tell Luo Feng's power. He was a little stronger than average emperors, while he had the fastest teleportation speed in Ice Hell. Such a human being could certainly pose a threat to the 10 most powerful limit emperors. "There's going to be more fun," said Bone Emperor. "More fun in Ice Hell." Bone Emperor was pleased. It didn't care for the dull times spent in Ice Hell, and it wanted some creatures with special power here to spice things up. After fleeing from the space range, Jihong Emperor appeared deep in the snow and teleported Luo Feng to Eastern Ice Hell. It built an underground residence deep in the snow. I underestimated the creatures in Ice Hell. Luo Feng recalled the battle with wine in his hand. I thought those creatures weren't that powerful when detained in a place where they had only gradually grown stronger. I thought they didn't have treasures, and even if they did, that only the most powerful ones would have one or two. But I was wrong. The power of one treasure can match that of 10 if it's properly used, Luo Feng thought. The powerful could only concentrate on one of the treasures they had in a combat. Also, the powerful ones in Ice Hell are different from those outside. They had more pressure and were pressed more harshly, which forced them to improve themselves no matter what. If they could acquire a single treasure, they would study it thoroughly and make the best use of it. Luo Feng kept contemplating. Although the powerful outside will also study their treasures, they won't put up so much effort. Bone Emperor. Its body constitution barely enters the threshold of average emperor. However, it has a treasure that is the perfect match for its claws. The movement of its claws and body perfectly coordinate with each other. Luo Feng believed it was the secret move invented by Bone Emperor because it was impossible to reach such a level by studying others. Luo Feng nodded his head while contemplating. The powerful in Ice Hell concentrated more on themselves and were more capable of wielding the power of treasures. The powerful outside had more treasures and moves. This was the key difference between them. I was wrong, said Luo Feng. Ever since I created the first move of Moon Policy and left Chaos City, I haven't studied any secret moves. Luo Feng sighed. Not until today do I realize how important it is to have a series of secret moves that correspond to the treasure. My treasure, the star map, is mighty, and I need to come up with a series of secret moves to better utilize it. Moon Policy was the law of Blade, which was the combat method of Sho Wu Wing. After all, the golden horned beast that Luo Feng owned did close combat, and Sho Wu Wing couldn't be wasted. Hence, he must keep up designing Moon Policy. However, Luo Feng needed another set of secret moves that were fit for a spiritual force leader. Let's begin, Luo Feng muttered. Treasures, genes, amplitude, and secret moves. Some of them focus on the outer body and some on the inner. I don't need to train the outer body now because I can't gain any process in a short time, so I'll train my inner capabilities. The star map can only be better utilized if I can come up with secret moves. The star map was the most suitable treasure for Luo Feng. Although the Tower Pearl, the Star Map, and Sho Wu Wing were all invaluable treasures, they had different uses. Sho Wu Wing was used to escape, where the Tower Pearl was for soul stabilization. As for the Star Map, it was used for attack. Sho Wu Wing couldn't help much if Luo Feng wanted to increase his combat capabilities. However, the Star Map could wield tremendous power if it was fully utilized. Precious few of the invincible emperors had treasures for attack. Luo Feng began his practice deep in the snow and connected to the virtual universe. He experimented in the virtual universe with his new moves over and over again. He didn't need to simulate the star map, all he needed to do was get a weapon with spiritual force that was in the same class. He paid attention to spiritual force weapons now. The master of Chaos City had doubts, even while providing one competitor after another for Luo Feng. Luo Feng had been using blades before. However, the master of Chaos City didn't criticize Luo Feng because he knew that Luo Feng would only learn a lesson after suffering losses. What he didn't know was that Luo Feng was most suitable for spiritual force weapons and would be even more so when he became an Undying. News spread in Ice Hell that Luo Feng was trying to create a series of secret moves for the star map using the virtual universe. How can I be lying about it? Gossiped one. The combat between the human and Bone Emperor was incredible, and the energy wave made me watch it from afar. I saw it with my own eyes, and everything I have told you is true. It's too outrageous, replied another. You're saying that the human is able to teleport himself 10 times faster than Bone Emperor and is the fastest one in Ice Hell? The 5 invincible emperors in Ice Hell all possess extraordinary skills, and 3 of them are special creatures. How can they be slower than this human? This is the truth. The one who shared the news was irritated. I'm not saying that I don't believe you. We've been taking care of each other like siblings, and that's how we have survived until now in Ice Hell. But I just can't believe he can be that fast. It's just preposterous and too terrific to be convincing. I could feel the wave from the combat, said another. I flew out of the sea and watched it stealthily. This is what I saw. Come on. At least make yourself sound more reasonable, even if you're making stuff up. Ice Hell was not an excessively enormous place, and lots of creatures hiding in the icebergs, beneath the snow, or deep within the ice sea had been watching furtively when then sensed the wave, which was how the news began. However, only the stories told by the top beings were believed. Nevertheless, everything changed after Bone Emperor complimented the human and said he was the fastest in Ice Hell. The story became much more convincing when it came from Bone Emperor's mouth. Besides, Bone Emperor wouldn't lie, considering how full of itself it was. 10 years later, one of the 5 invincible emperors, Sky Wolf, posted an updated version of the rankings in Ice Hell, and the human newcomer was ranked 18. Apparently, Sky Wolf thought highly of the human, which was why he had ranked him at 18 after the mere 3 fights Luofeng had. In the profile for Luofeng, it said, Speedy. If the rumors were favorable to the human newcomer initially, the rumors that followed were not so much. That human must possess an anonymous account to connect to the virtual universe. He's the only human in Ice Hell, and he is definitely able to connect to the virtual universe by himself. He must also have a high social status, given his powers, not to mention that he's a spiritual force leader who can control some slaves, and he needs to use an anonymous account in the virtual universe to accomplish that. These rumors were logical and convincing. The virtual universe. An anonymous account. These things were already fairly attractive to the creatures in Ice Hell. They were patient, however, thanks to the time they had spent here, and they did not act on their intentions at first. After a while, some creatures started to look for Luofeng in private, but only a considerably small portion of them actually had the guts to challenge him, since they knew how strong he was. Only a few of them could actually find Luofeng. Why can't I find him? Where is he hiding at? Why can't we find him? Ice Hell is not that big of a place, and we've searched every inch of it. The several powerful creatures looking for Luofeng were a little irritated. Theoretically, it should have been easy for them to use godly power to find him. What they didn't know was that Luofeng owned a highly developed microdetector that could completely hide his information. There were a couple of other creatures that owned the microdetectors, but those were more primitive than that of Luofeng. They just could not find him. A strong creature in northern Ice Hell known as Silver Eye lived at the peak of an iceberg, where a splendid palace was built. Silver Eye ranked second in all of Ice Hell and was one of the 5 invincible emperors. His eyes were closed most of the time. However, if he opened his eyes and someone was spotted, that creature was doomed. Virtual universe. On the throne of the palace sat a 30-meter-tall god in white battle armor. He had a giant pair of slanted eyes, and his entire body was vibrating, which emanated invisible waves that affected time. 2 emperors, manipulated mentally by Silver Eye, groveled on the ground before the throne. Nobody wanted to be a slave due to despair in Ice Hell, so the only way was mind control. Master, according to the information, nobody saw that human possessing an anonymous account, said the first slave. However, he is a spiritual force leader, which means it's highly likely that he has a device to connect to the virtual universe. I think so too, Master, the second slave spoke up. I want to see this human, Silver Eye declared. Master, nobody has been able to find him. He excels at hiding himself. Oh. The enormous silhouette marched down from the throne and said, then I'll go look for him myself. It's been a long time since I last left Northern Ice Hell, but it's well worth it to acquire the anonymous account and placate my loneliness. He then walked out of the palace and started to search for Luofeng. Although Silver Eye was ranked the second in Ice Hell, it was difficult to tell which one of the 5 invincible emperors was the strongest because, for a significant amount of time, each of them had focused on occupying a single district. As for Silver Eye, he was good at law of time and was a special creature. Therefore Luofeng's speed was nothing to him. Speed was useless in front of time pause. He left his palace only because he was sure that Luofeng wouldn't get away. Silver Eye began to look for Luofeng without concealing the news. Incredible to all the creatures in Ice Hell was that even Silver Eye could not find the human. Inside his cave in Eastern Ice Hell, Luofeng's microdetector had been on stealth zone the whole time. He had changed his own detector to the microdetector worth tens of billions of mixed elements with the huge amount of fortunes he had earned in the outer sector battlefield. Luofeng intended it to be his life-saving straw, so naturally, he was willing to purchase the top-tier one. Luofeng sat in the hall with his legs crossed and his mind connected to the virtual universe. Inside the practice field of the virtual universe, he did battle. Howl. The giant beast was entrenched in the sky with its mouth breathing fire toward Luofeng. Tail of Beast God, concentration. There were 160 golden pearls with intricate engravings floating around Luo Feng. They flew out under Luo Feng's control like traces of light and became tens of thousands of golden threads. Suddenly, a 1,000-meter-long beast god appeared in the sky. This beast god was nothing like the one under Beast God Soldier. Beast God Soldier had 6 moves, which were all invented by Shi Luo Duo. Once they were exercised, the phantom of the beast god became real and started to evolve. When the 6th move was exercised, the phantom became almost indistinguishable from the real beast god. The phantom created by Luo Feng, however, was completely different. The phantom looked pretty vague and blurry except for the tail, which was made of hard, bony scuts. It looked exactly like the tail of the real beast god. Shi Luo Duo had never seen the real beast god sculpture, Luo Feng murmured, whereas I own it and am able to see each engraving on the scute. My golden horned beast avatar has been studying the engravings on the tail for 100 years, and my secret move focuses on the tail. All the other parts of the body were illusory but the tail. Shi Luo Duo wasn't wrong. He never owned a beast god sculpture, so he needed to improve the phantom as a whole gradually. I, however, actually have it, and thus I'm able to concentrate the spiritual force in one place. Howl. The scorpion beast engulfed in fire trembled and marched towards the beast god. The beast god marched toward it roaring. They clashed in the sky, and the beast god's head and claws became vapor. After the attack of the scorpion, it condensed into the head phantom again, with its scute-covered tail authentic and ready to move. It was rapid as lightning. It hit the scorpion beast right on its head, which burst open. Its whole godly body trembled before turning into dust. Done. Luo Feng was pleased. A person in a golden cape appeared in the sky. Luo Feng turned to him and greeted him politely, "Teacher." He was somehow confused because he had gone to the palace in Thunder Island to greet his teacher after he created Moon Policy. But this time, the Castellan of Chaos City came to the practice field himself. Your secret move to control your spiritual force weapon is as good as your blade move. Now, the Castellan complimented. Luo Feng listened quietly. However, real battles are different from battles in the virtual universe, the Castellan continued. Fight 10 creatures and come see me again. Yes, teacher, Luo Feng answered with great respect. He also wanted to try his new moves. Go, the Castellan said. Luo Feng saluted to the Castellan before leaving the virtual universe. The Castellan shook his head. Warriors and spiritual force leaders are different. Even though he studied the beast god, he did not concentrate on a single move, as every other powerful one does. Every powerful one does this, no matter how powerful they are. He shouldn't have tried both schools. Only after his defeated will he learn. The Castellan then disappeared. In Eastern Ice Hell, deep inside the snow, Luo Feng stood up with joy and laughed. I finally came up with the first move after 100 years. Congratulations, Master, Honed Heart Emperor replied with respect. Master has improved quite a bit, Jihong Emperor said. And now, Master can kill more creatures and take more tags in Ice Hell. You are more likely to collect 10,000 tags now. I don't let you two out just to flatter me, Luo Feng laughed. I want you two to give me some advice. Advice? Honed Heart Emperor and Jihong Emperor looked at each other. I created the top move Moon Policy, which is for close combat. Now that I've created one more series for a spiritual force weapon, what name do you think I should use? Luo Feng asked. He had vetoed lots of other names before settling on Moon Policy. It was difficult to come up with an appropriate name. Since it is a series for a spiritual force weapon, Honed Heart Emperor said, and Master is using stars, and you created it in Ice Hell, why doesn't Master call it Star Hell? No, that's no good, Jihong Emperor said. Ice Hell is only a temporary habitat for Master, but these secret moves will follow Master, and their fame will be spread when Master achieves success and wins recognition. Ice Hell can't even come close. From my perspective, I reckon Beast God is more appropriate, as Master is following the path of the Beast God and able to form a Beast God by wielding the spiritual force weapon. Although Beast God sounds a bit reckless, it shows Master's aim to achieve the Beast God level. Sometimes, it's okay to be overbearing. The name Beast God is a given. Luo Feng kept shaking his head. While Jihong Emperor and Honed Heart Emperor were giving advice, Luo Feng was also contemplating. One name came up after another. Some were mighty while some were conservative. However, it was almost impossible to satisfy Luo Feng. Eventually, Luo Feng settled on a name that was simple and ordinary but fit his criteria. I'll call it 10,000 Star Sermon Map. There was a trace of expectation in Luo Feng's eyes. His secret moves were revealing his Tao, and there were only 10,000 stars in Star Tower. According to Zhuoshan Ku, Luo Feng could only exercise 10 of them. The name 10,000 Star Sermon Map represented Luo Feng's ambition to exercise all the stars. It was not necessary to explain the inclusion of the word sermon. The first move is speedy, he said. I'll call it Hit the Light Racing Star. Luo Feng came up with this name pretty quickly. The first move of 10,000 Star Sermon Map, Hit the Light Racing Star. It had only taken Luo Feng 100 years to create this move. In contrast, Luo Feng had spent 1,000 years coming up with Galaxy on the Sky. There were two reasons why he had spent such a shorter length of time on the new move. Firstly, Luo Feng was on a higher level now. Secondly, the move 10,000 Star Sermon Map was derived from the first chapter of Nanshan 7 Moves, together with the conception of the Beast God. Also, Luo Feng had more experience when inventing 10,000 Star Sermon Map. It was not that Luo Feng didn't want to create it according to the second chapter, Muscle. That one was more difficult. The second move was easier when there was a first one. Luo Feng brought Jihong Emperor and Honed Heart Emperor back to his ring and decided to walk out of the cave. I've created the move suitable for Sky Map and significantly increased my power, he said. I'm going to try it now and see teacher after 10 combats. Luo Feng stopped at the exit of the cave. The frowned. Why did Chaos City teacher only ask me to go find him after 10 battles, without saying another word? Instead of complimenting me, he only asked me to come find him after 10 battles. Does that mean he's not satisfied with the moves I created for my weapon? Luo Feng thought of all the possible reasons. He was actually very perceptive. He didn't dig into the implication of the Castellan's words because he was overjoyed after successfully creating his first move after 100 years. Not satisfied. Is it because I didn't concentrate? Luo Feng figured out the reason instantly. It was so obvious, it was common sense. The powerful ones needed to focus on one move, and they needed to concentrate on one move no matter how talented they were. Dividing their focus into two was a stupid strategy. For instance, Bran had previously studied space law and time law at the same time, but only after he had gone through severe adversaries had he recognized the correct path. He's not happy that I'm creating a move for spiritual force weapons, said Luo Feng. That means he wants me to take the warrior path. I have a powerful spiritual force and a high amplitude thereof, thought Luo Feng. I'm fit for the path of a spiritual leader. Castellan teacher knows this. Why does he want me to follow the warrior school? Luo Feng was talented enough to follow both the warrior path and the spiritual leader path. Which path to choose? Castellan wanted Luo Feng to follow the warrior path. Teacher knows some secrets, Luo Feng contemplated. However, Zhuoshan Ku suggested that I should follow the spiritual force leader path, and that's why he left me the force armor and Star Tower. The Star Tower, in particular, which is a spiritual force weapon, is one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. It will be a total waste if I don't study into the spiritual force leader path. Besides, he didn't have a treasure for close combat like Flaming God Halberd, owned by his second brother, Flaming Emperor. Doesn't matter, Luo Feng thought. Zhuoshan Ku is one of the most powerful creatures in the universe, and he should know more than Castellan. Moreover, Earthlings were taught and guided by teacher Zhuoshan Ku, and he should know my potential is more for the spiritual force leader path. Also, it will only take me a little more time to study Moon Policy and 10,000 Star Sermon Map at the same time. I'll study them at the same time and will choose between one of them if there are some secrets I don't know. Luo Feng made up his mind. He stepped out of the cave. He soared, and the snow was like air, unable to create any friction. Luo Feng flew to the ground in an instant. It was white and freezing in the vast snowfield. Luo Feng flew in the sky and overlooked the surroundings. I need to find someone to fight with, Luo Feng said, looking around. How can I find someone to fight with if everyone is hiding? I'll try my luck first. Luo Feng flew like a beam of light. Inside a palace in northern Ice Hell, on the peak of the iceberg, one of the 5 invincible emperors, Silver Eye, sat on the throne like a sculpture. He was much more nonchalant than he had once been, after an infinite amount of time spent in Ice Hell. Sometimes, he wouldn't even move for tens of thousands of years. Outside the palace, an emperor in black armor guarded the door. Suddenly, a silhouette belonging to one of the 2 slaves of Silver Eye appeared. Have you found the human? We haven't, said the slave. Nobody has been able to do that since his battle with Bone Emperor. He has completely vanished. The 2 slaves talked to each other. They would go out and search for Luo Feng and would immediately report to their master Silver Eye if they found him. "Protect master," the black-armored slave said. "I'll go out and search." And then he teleported himself. Luo Feng had hidden himself for 100 years, and those who wanted to fight him in the first place had temporarily given up. "I can't find any of them," Luo Feng murmured as he flew through the entire area of Eastern Ice Hell and stopped above Ice Sea. "It seems these powerful creatures usually hide themselves. I'll need some special methods to get them out." Luo Feng overlooked Ice Sea and suddenly became sharp. Break. A spiritual force dove toward the ice. When Luo Feng's spiritual force awakened on the earth the first time, his force could twist concrete iron. Now, Luo Feng could destroy a neutron star without even trying. One could extrapolate what the ice would be like when hit by his force. All the ice within the tens of thousands of squared meters vanished, and the tremble made the faraway ice crack as if crushed beneath the weight of a great beast. The wave spread. Some powerful creatures will notice it in no time, Luo Feng thought. The real powerful creatures in Ice Hell will come out. A powerful creature living tens of millions of kilometers away felt it. Energy wave. Who's fighting? The creature inclined his head out of the ice and saw the shadow. Human. The creature was shocked, and it snuck back to the sea. The human showed up, it said. The top 10 limit emperors and the 5 invincible emperors are all looking for him. And he dared to show up. The creature was surprised inside but didn't have the guts to test him. He knew he wasn't his match, since the human could flee from one of the top 10 limit emperors and was ranked fastest according to Bone Emperor. As for telling the secret, there was no upside to telling Silver Eye. He might be killed for doing that. The wave spread everywhere. More and more powerful barbarian creatures noticed it, but none of them dared to show up, knowing it was the notoriously high-ranked human. The energy wave gradually wore off and disappeared. No one. Luo Feng stood in the sky for a long time and couldn't find anyone. "I can't believe no one showed up." Luo Feng looked afar and bombarded the ice with his spiritual force. It wasn't until after the third time he hit the ice that a creature finally accepted the challenge. The fragments of the ice were all over the sky because of the spiritual force. A silhouette marched toward Luo Feng among the bits. Luo Feng stood above Ice Hell and saw the shadow. "You dare to show up, human." The vigorous and forceful voice pierced through the void while a mighty, godly power spread everywhere. The fragments turned into nothing instantly, and the entire area became clear and bright. Luo Feng could finally see the powerful creature clearly. He had a lion-shaped lower body with 4 hoofs, whereas he possessed a human upper body with 4 muscular arms. His body was dark blue, as if it were made of metal. Luo Feng identified this creature. Lightning Racing Emperor, ranked 12 and proficient in Law of Time. "It's him," Luo Feng said. He was dazed. Although he is only ranked slightly lower than Bone Emperor, there's almost no gap between the top 10 limit emperors. Besides, this one is proficient in Law of Time, while my edge is teleportation. Things won't end well for me if he stops the time. However, the anxiety could also heighten his aggressiveness. Why wouldn't I have the guts to show up? Luo Feng's voice resounded across the entire ice sea. "You think I'm scared of you? Even Bone Emperor couldn't defeat me, not to mention you. Human, don't you know that 2 of the 5 invincible emperors are looking for you?" Lightning Racing Emperor roared. Luo Feng suddenly had goosebumps. 5 invincible emperors? They were the strongest in Ice Hell, and 3 of them were special creatures. Luo Feng couldn't underestimate them. "Both Silver Eye and Blood Dog looked for you before," Lightning Racing Emperor continued. "Both are special creatures," Luo Feng muttered. Then he shouted aloud, "So what? Does that mean I should hide forever?" He grimaced. "Yes," said Lightning Racing Emperor. "There's no point for them to look for you. Because I will kill you today." Lightning Racing Emperor's voice struck like thunder. He had told Luo Feng that both Silver Eye and Blood Dog were looking for him just to make him anxious. "Die, human." Combat began instantly. More than 30 barbarian creatures were watching it from all around. The humans fighting Lightning Racing Emperor. The human might be defeated. The human is speedy. The combat between them went wild. Thunder God roaming. Lightning Racing Emperor growled, bearing down on Luo Feng like an immortal ox. He roamed the void, which cracked under his force, and the electric snake fluttered. What irritated Luo Feng the most was how variable the speed of Lightning Racing Emperor was. Before Luo Feng was well prepared, Lightning Racing Emperor arrived right in front of him. Ta, 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 ta. Lightning Racing Emperor's hoofs stepped toward Luo Feng, and the fluttering electric snake could turn a planet into dust. Peng! He stepped right on Luo Feng's back while his Sha Wu wing shielded him from hundreds of constant attacks. Lu Feng crashed into Ice Sea and caused tremendous waves. All of a sudden, a silver lining flew out. It was Lu Feng, unharmed. Take this, Lightning Racing Emperor. Luo Feng threw 8 black balls out of the wave and secretly started to exercise the spiritual attack, Soul Blade. Lightning Racing Emperor started to roam with the void again. 4 ancient chains appeared around his arms, and each of his hands held 1 chain. The electric snakes were rotating around the chains, and just when he was about to fight against Luo Feng's spiritual force weapon, Soul Blade hit him. Lightning Racing Emperor felt pain. Human. Lightning Racing Emperor roared while flinging the 4 chains. Space and time were changing rapidly under the effect of the 4 chains. Scar of Thunder. One of the chains of Lightning Racing Emperor burst out like a hunting snake and pierced the sky with a light. The chain rushed to the barely formed phantom of Beast God, whose tail slashed the chain. 8 black balls hit the chain but bounced back. Human, what else can you do except run? Lightning Racing Emperor laughed recklessly and flew toward Luo Feng. He was holding the 4 chains, each of which was terrifying and turned the realm into the territory of the lightning chains. Luo Feng took back the 8 stars and looked at Lightning Racing Emperor. He thought to himself, I couldn't exercise a splash of whip shadow as well as Lightning Racing Emperor, Bone Emperor, and Haiti Emperor. He opened his wings and tried to get away from Lightning Racing Emperor. Don't you dare run, he roared. That was when he realized what the fastest in ice hell truly meant. Luo Feng didn't even glance at him. Instead, he stared at his left palm. Now it's time to see how good my spiritual force weapon works after 100 years of practice. A shred of expectation flashed in Luo Feng's eyes. Instantly, engravings appeared on the star map on his hand. 16 stars were needed to carry such complex engravings. 8 of the stars had purple halos around them while the other 8 didn't. Go. Show him the power of Lightning Racing Star. 16 stars flew up, connected by tens of thousands of threads, which set off the universe origin law. A huge beast god that was over 1,000 meters long appeared above Ice Sea. The beast god looked unstable, as if it could crumble at any moment. However, each scale on the tail of the beast god was as distinct as possible. The scales laminated each other and formed the tail, which emanated an almighty force. Other parts of the tail were like air. Lightning Racing Emperor guffawed while staring at the tail. This phantom's inferior to the previous one, I can destroy it with 1 blow. He reckoned that the tail would be a threat. Go. The 4 chains charged the beast god like 4 bolts of lightning. Howl. The tail covered with scales moved when the 4 chains raced toward him. The move was terrifically swift, and the tail slashed one of the chains. The other 3 chains tried to attack the beast god, but they were all twisted and fell back. Good. Luo Feng smiled. It can actually ward off Lightning Racing Emperor's attack. As expected, Star Map will not let me down if I study the law of spiritual force weapon thoroughly. All the barbarian creatures watching the battle were shocked to their very core. They had lived in ice hell for such a long time that 100 years was merely a blink of an eye to them. They couldn't imagine that the human who could only flee when battling Bone Emperor could defeat Lightning Racing Emperor in hand-to-hand combat. He is the equal of the top 10 limit emperors. How could he improve so quickly? This is incredible. To Luo Feng, this was all totally conceivable. Each of the stars in the star map was invaluable, and 16 stars, perfectly connected, made each other them much more powerful under Luo Feng's secret move. That's why star map was invaluable. Because if it were not for the panorama, owning even 1 billion stars would be pointless. Creating my own secret move is the only way to utilize the treasure, Luo Feng said, feeling joyful inside. However, according to the description on the ranking, the chains of Bone Emperor can merge into one, and that's when its power reaches its peak. And he hasn't exercised time pause. I should be more careful. One of the servants of Silver Eye flew slowly above Eastern Ice Hell. He wore black armor and was looking for the human. I'm actually giving myself a day off in the name of searching for the human, the servant said, looking relaxed. It's so difficult to find the human, and nobody will attack me because they all know I'm the servant of Silver Eye. It's such a relief. The black-armored servant looked in the direction of Ice Sea. Energy wave. I'll go and take a look. The servant teleported himself. He arrived tens of millions of kilometers away from the battlefield and saw 2 shadows. The bigger one was the phantom of Beast God, and the smaller one was of Lightning Racing Emperor. Lightning Racing Emperor is fighting a beast, said the servant. Wait. Where did the beast come from? The servant opened his eyes wider and saw the figure of a human. It's the human. The human's here. That's right. The phantom comes from his spiritual force weapon attack. The information on him confirms this. The servant was ecstatic. I found the human. This is a huge contribution. Master will be overjoyed. I'll go tell my master now. The servant teleported himself and vanished into the sky of Eastern Ice Hell. He teleported himself to the entry of Silver Eyes Palace. This video will end here.